Welcome to Search Party, the podcast where we swap stories on what's working in search right now and what's worth trying next. I'm your host, Amanda Milligan, and today I've invited Abby Gleason to the party. She is an SEO leader at Upwork with more than 10 years of experience helping SaaS and e-commerce brands grow through search. Her insights have been featured on outlets like Wix, Search Engine Land, Women in Tech SEO, and she's been recognized with both a Search Engine Land Award and AdFed's 32 Under 32. Welcome to the show, Abby.
Thanks, Amanda. Excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you. In our new format of Search Party, we're going to kick off with two truths and a lie because let's have a little more fun, let's make this entertaining. Let's get to know you a little bit more. So what are your two truths and a lie, Abby?
Ooh, I love that. Are you going to do one too? Do we get one from you?
I can. That's fair. I feel like that's a fair.
Sure. We'll do one for one. Okay, let me think. Okay. I have a corgi. I was my college mascot, and I have performed live at the Moth.
Ooh. I'm going to say you don't have a corgi.
You got it. I do not. I have a Australian cattle dog.
Oh, cute. Okay, wait. So tell me a little bit more about, what was your college mascot?
Okay, so it's this giant bird called a blue gold. It's a fictional bird. And I was my college mascot for approximately one women's hockey game. And it was not for me. People are weird to mascots. Like, people just feel like
Really?
in your space. And
Oh,
the
God.
costume smelled like boy, and it didn't work for me. So
And then at the Moth? That's awesome.
yeah, it's really I love the Moth, and so they come to Minneapolis every month. You do a theme, and got the chance to do one of my stories. So that was really special.
That's incredible. We'll have to talk more about that later.
Yeah.
That's why I said corgi. I was like, I kind of just hope the other two things are true.
I also wish I had a corgi, so I'm like kind of
Corgis are adorable.
Yeah.
It's true. God, for me, I have never left the US. I performed at Carnegie Hall, and I was Clifford at a book fair.
I think you've left the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, you seem traveled. I could see that, and I also wanted the other things too. I need to know, well, about both, but mainly this Clifford story. Can you regale us?
Yeah, so now once you mentioned the mascot thing, I was like, yes, I've also experienced this, but as a fifth grader at the Scholastic Book Fair, and I was the only kid who could fit I was tall. So I know on the screen you can't tell, but I'm 5'11", and I was the only kid in fifth grade who was tall enough to be Clifford, so they kind of made me do it, and it was great. I love the books. I loved them as a kid, but you're not wrong. Like, somebody had to hold my hand and walk me through the library because kids were losing their minds, and like all these kindergartners were swarming me trying to knock me down. I was like, this is a difficult job.
It's violent being a mascot. You have to. I was not prepared.
Yeah, it's a lot. My one day experience taught me that. Well, awesome. That's fun to know we both had to wear giant costumes.
Bonding over our mascot trauma.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into the marketing side of it all. Abby, what did you bring to the party?
So today we're talking about your brand questions in AI overviews and LLMs. And so just made a quick little deck, including some real life, real world examples from my place of work, Upwork. So you get to see in real time exactly what we did and how quickly it worked and where we showed up. So kind of proof is in the pudding.
That sounds awesome. Yeah. And before you get into it, tell us why you're interested in this topic. Like, what got you testing this? What got you, diving into this?
Yeah, so my role at Upwork is really all about organic growth from kind of every step of the funnel, from early discovery, even before people fully know what their problem or solution is, all the way through like registration and signing up. And so one of those kind of mid-funnel discovery opportunities we learned of is there's a lot of questions about Upwork. And I've seen this agency side. There's people have questions about your brand. But interestingly, I find that not all brands really target those questions or own them. And so, I mean, there's a million examples, but with Upwork, I saw that either competitors or third-party sites were actually owning these queries as people start to evaluate our brand and our product. And so we identified that this could be like really low-hanging fruit. That's another thing I love is like, leadership, everyone, SEOs want fast results, want to see like more LLM visibility and be able to show that what they're doing is working. And I think your brand queries are maybe the fastest and best way to do that because you as the brand are the natural owner of this. And I'll show more in a second, but we actually ranked within a week for several of our queries after making this content in a YouTube video. So it can work really quickly.
That's awesome. The timeliness of it. I feel like that's always a question people have. Like, okay, I want to do this. Like, how quick?
Yep. Yeah, and in SEO, nothing's quick, right? You're always preparing people, but this in this case, you can actually show up really fast, which is fun.
That's awesome. All right, yeah, give us the playbook. Tell us what you did. Tell us what works.
All right, let's do it. Let's start the presentation party. Okay, so I'm not going to be reading through all of this, don't worry, but basically just wanted to give like a really quick overview. So basically, the importance of this is we don't want to let competitors define your brand. And really, it's that low-hanging opportunity. And how to find your brand FAQs, I think, is the first place to start. So the first step, and this, by the way, this is not hard. You could probably do this within one day, even less. I think one easy way is to find your top searched brand terms using a tool like SEMrush. You can just enter in your brand. In my case, I would just do a keyword search for Upwork and then begin looking at the top variations. So in Upwork's case, it's what you'd expect. So what is Upwork? How does Upwork work? Upwork reviews, pricing. Usually there's about 10 to 20 really common top questions. And then you can also verify those using the people also ask or autocomplete on Google. I also like to take a peek at Reddit. So search for your brand and then just look at like what are the top questions people are asking in the past, 6, 12 months. That can just start to give you a really good idea of what people are asking. I just recommend opening up a quick sheet and then just dropping in all of those questions, organizing them usually by top volume or what feels the most urgent. I also recommend asking your customer success team for top asked questions. If you have a team that is regularly customer facing, they have insights about where people's sticking points are. So that can be a really great supplement. And then the next step really is, do you show up? So taking that list of questions and conducting searches across Google and top LLMs like ChatGPT, Perplexity, all that.
Yeah, that makes total sense. You have to know what people are asking in order to see what to prioritize.
Exactly.
You could probably take a shot in the dark and like some of the like you said, there's gonna be standard questions like what is it? And is it I feel like I worked with a client once where they were dealing a lot with authority. And so there was a lot of questions on like, especially newer brands would be like, is blank legit? It was like a
Yes.
really common question of certain companies that were newer or dealt with like your money or life topics. So, I'm sure that there are, like, safe bets you can guess, but it's better to go in and see, like, what is actually showing up in
Absolutely. And I don't know if you can see, but the fourth question on this people also ask, is Upwork legit? So
I didn't
very
even notice
valid.
that.
Yeah, especially sites that work, yeah, with your money, your life. And I'm fortunate to work with a content team that actually like addresses these things head on, doesn't kind of sugarcoat it. We literally include that in the title for some of our videos and top in blog posts. Like if people are asking this, let's get into it. Let's use their language. And
Absolutely.
sometimes too, it's fun to see like when you start going down this rabbit hole, be prepared because you might find questions or things that you weren't expecting. So a lot of times I do, share this with additional product teams like, hey, this is a top question. We are being clear about this aspect of our site. Or I've shared with paid search and actually sharing some of these keywords led to an increase in some of their like branded versus competitor terms. And they saw a lot of success with that. So it really is something that you can share across teams.
Yeah, that's a great point. Okay, so this is step 1. What's the next step?
Okay, step 2. We talked about how to prioritize them. So volume is one. I also recommend, speaking with your customer service team and a few other product folks and asking, hey, like what is most urgent here? What do we feel is the highest priority opportunity based on like what questions we're getting? And I think customer success is a really good team to tap into because a lot of times their goals are based around like answering things. So I feel like if you answer questions with content, you can prevent those questions from going to customer support so that they can actually help your customers with the things that are more complex. And that just kind of has a downstream impact because everyone knows people love to go to Reddit to say, customer support took forever or did not answer my question. And, the more we can support that, the better our brand looks across social.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so, like, the next step from that is it's like, where do you publish your FAQs? This is kind of a new thing, and I'm curious to hear your take and what you guys are doing at SEMrush. But, like, I mean, even just a year or two ago, it was all about like landing pages. So either having FAQ sections on the homepage or pricing page, and then having maybe a dedicated blog or help center. As an SEO and as a website person, I always think about, owned content and just what's on the website. But now in this age of like LLMs, we've seen that sites like YouTube are top cited, Reddit, even social, like these off-site mentions, the TikTok, Instagram. So we've actually been experimenting with something we call social EO. So like SEO, but social, basically the search everywhere optimization. And it's really exciting early results going into video. Have you experimented at all with video yet?
We are definitely leaning into video this year because you're right. There's more and more research coming out of how much pretty much AI overviews and ChatGPT, but probably most LLMs are going to be pulling video more and more, the more the better they get at actually analyzing and not just relying on the transcripts. But yeah, we've seen a lot of that, like video being pulled in to answer these questions. So it is a matter of this was a question I was going to ask you, is like where to put this, because you're exactly right. I think there's a lot of experimentation here still.
Yeah.
There's going to be places on your site where it makes sense, but you might not want to just where that used to be good enough. That's not the only place people are looking, and it's not the only input that is being received, by Google and by LLMs. I mean, even I could see Reddit, I could see responses to comments in Reddit showing up in this type of stuff. So it's interesting to think about like you mentioned, the search everywhere optimization of it all, even for something like this. Like thinking about seeding the most important things at least, because you can't do this for everything. But like you're saying, if you're prioritizing it and you're like, this is the number one thing that we need to get across, yeah, I mean, I feel like you gotta do video. You have to be whether you're on Reddit or not, you have to be where your audience is and asking these questions.
Absolutely. Be everywhere. And I mean, when I say be everywhere, it's like be where your audience is, right? So we validated that, YouTube has a ton of volume for these brand questions. People are talking about it on Reddit. And so that's, where we focused. We started with our top, 10, 20 terms. And then the fastest way, I always say, like, start with the lowest hanging fruit. The easiest way, I think, for many sites is either a blog post or an FAQ on a main page, like your, pricing or homepage. So we did a blog. I'll share some examples. And then we also did a corresponding YouTube video. And for us, that was enough to kind of instantaneously, you can see here, kind of be that everywhere and see multiple places. So when you search for things like Upwork reviews or is Upwork legit, you see our blog posts show up. You see our videos show up. In many cases, actually, I mean, AIOs change all the time, but right embedded within this AIO, just the other day, this YouTube video that we published was front and center. I mean, it took up the entire AI overview. So this is real
Wow.
estate that just, I mean, it's crucial. So yeah, that was exciting. And this was something that my teammate Sky worked on, and yeah, was able to share like company wide and got a lot of positive attention. So I mean, if that matters to you as well, that
Yeah, no, I mean, I would imagine so, 'cause it is kind of wild to think about these other videos, people who are controlling the narrative around your brand ranking ahead of you, you know? Like,
exactly.
if you have the opportunity to present your story, why not do it? And I do think, and people will probably still click around. They're not gonna, but like you need to be part of the story of your own brand. So I think this is really cool to see how you were able to very quickly become part of that story. Say like, okay, here are these SERPs where, we're not even talking, like we're not even contributing.
Absolutely. And like this also, speaking of timing, like this actually came within a week, especially the video. It was within 1 week of publishing that YouTube video and having that corresponding blog. It was so fast.
It's incredible.
And so that was really exciting to share is like, hey, this is something that we're proving is working, is kind of like flooding the zone with our top content. And the other thing too is like when you look at these other videos, if we weren't ranking, I'm not sure what they're saying. I've seen many instances where I look up like questions like what is Upwork or Upwork's pricing? And before we had our content really clearly laid out with accurate information, guess what? That info was not correct. There was old pricing, or there was just, I would say, like missed messaging opportunities where it's just like the positioning was no longer right. So it's just really an opportunity to reclaim the narrative. Even if people do click around, they have kind of like your viewpoint as a brand of like, this is what we stand for. This is who we are. This is the latest about us. And people can make their own calls from there. But it does help kind of drown out some of the other noise too.
It's a really good point about just literally being a source for all these other third parties talking about your brand, because that consistency is critical for LLMs too. Like they're looking for that consensus when they're checking all these different sources. So by giving the accurate information and making it easy for these other companies to just, when they're writing a blog post or they're making a video, they're like, oh, I know the pricing because they have it, very clearly spelled out. Like
Exactly.
that's huge. And you probably don't even see the immediate impact of that. But very cool that you did see immediate impact within days. I mean, that's a rare thing.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, it's hard, I think sometimes, especially if you're starting a new site or just in a really competitive niche to, like, build authority for these non-brand terms, but, like, you are always the authority on your brand, and, Google tends to recognize that really quickly and prefer, you can see the Upwork YouTube channel. I think that's one of the reasons why it comes up so fast is, like, Google rewards expertise and who's a better expert on your brand than you.
That makes sense. Did you all have a YouTube channel like that was active already?
We did, yes. And so this is something that has been ramping up, I'd say, really over the past year with this Social Yo program. So we were fortunate to have a small team of folks who could help. But that actually like kind of brings to the next point, which is how we created this. And so these videos, I mean, blog posts, whatever you're creating, I mean, I will say it's not the right content to outsource to content farms that are more generic or unaffiliated writers. You really want that nuance and brand understanding. But something that's interesting in is this case is we actually had one of our freelancers do this content. So that is what I think really added the authenticity is like we can have someone from our content team say we're worth it till we're blue in the face. But if you actually have this freelancer come in and say, hey, I myself have used Upwork, here's my honest take, I think it just really adds that authenticity. And I mean, I didn't help produce it, but from what I heard, this was very quickly put together. It's just someone's honest take. And so this doesn't have to be a super produced, video made in LA or, pay some expensive influencer. Not at all. You can have your customers, someone from your internal team explaining things. It's really just as long as you have someone who kind of understands the brand and knows what they're talking about, I think that's really the key.
So it seems like it's a no-brainer to create that kind of content because you can use it in so many other ways. I mean, that is great it's just great bottom of the funnel content, right? You can have that on your site, your sales team can use that, everything. But I love the framing in that. Can you click over to the video again? Like literally in the title is Upwork worth it? So you're again, like you were saying, just directly answering the question, but even thinking about that, like people probably have testimonials and case studies that answer questions. It's just not as directly obvious to Google or LLMs, right? So there might be a case where somebody doesn't even need to record anything new and they just need to repackage it.
That's absolutely correct. I mean, we have a whole reviews page as well of just like testimonials from people that we already have. So, like you said, it's just about like repurposing content that you probably already do have. The other thing too is I mean, I felt this way when working with past clients or companies. It's like, oh gosh, YouTube feels like such like kind of a difficult channel. This is going to take so much work. After seeing this, I mean, there's so many ways you can do a YouTube channel and talking about non-brand things as well, but I think it is worth it to test out, if you don't already have one, just starting a channel and just starting with 5 topics. your brand topics, because I think it's just a really quick way to prove the value of the channel, even if you're not publishing every other day and doing some huge production.
Yeah, I love that advice because it is daunting. It's it's a lot.
It is. I mean, you're running this podcast, this webinar program. I mean, you can attest to how much work sometimes some of these things are. So
Yeah, and it could be, there's so many different levels of production, like you were saying, some people go like they make almost like mini movies. And I think you're right though, that it's better to have the clarity and participate in the brand story and leverage things like this that are more authentic because that authenticity builds authority in its own way. So I think that's great advice.
absolutely. And I think just SEOs are used to having to be scrappy is like, we can't have things perfect all the time. Sometimes we don't have a developer, have to DIY it. So I think this is a good chance to just prove out the value with something that's low hanging fruit. And then I find that once you can prove the value to your boss or your boss's boss and say, hey, look how fast this worked, all of a sudden resources that were not previously available magically become a little more available once you can kind of get scrappy and prove it out. So I would say that's been the case at most places that I've worked.
Is there any other tracking that you did on this or was it I mean this is one of those amazing things where the value is pretty obvious, right? Like, you just at face value, you're like, "Oh, I get it. I get why this is important." But was there any other sort of tracking you did to see if there was any additional influence?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we track a few things, I think that showed the success. So the first is here is ranking for our key terms. So we looked, does the video rank? Is our blog top? Also, we track just our overall percentage of AIO mentions. And I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I want to say it was like around 20% lift in AIO coverage for our brand queries the month after publishing, like I'd say a handful of these types of
Wow.
videos and blog posts. So we track kind of like the percentage of coverage of the total available AIOs for our brand, and we did see immediate lifts.
I love that. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this. I think this is a great example of something that people can implement literally in the next week and then see results a week after. I mean, there's not a whole lot of things where you can say that's possible. So I appreciate you taking the time to share this success with others.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's it's a time to be an SEO right now. Like honestly, and here I'll just stop sharing. But yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I think the loss of traffic has to be pretty ubiquitous at this point, just from being stolen from AIOs and just the way people search, I think is transforming a bit. But I don't know. I personally feel kind of excited by that because I feel that the traffic that was lost is not the highest intent. And so that's where I think brand questions or these more mid-funnel questions that actually require someone clicking in. That's what's exciting to me because now when you have someone on your site or someone on a video like this, you know for a fact that they're at least somewhat interested. They at least have some form of intent. Otherwise, they could just quick grab an answer from AIO and leave and be on their merry way if it was just, informational.
Totally. Okay, so the next segment is our gossip corner. And I just want to show something that I saw today that I think is so relevant to what you just said.
Give me the tea.
Um, did you see this
No, I haven't seen this yet. When did this come out?
today? I
Okay.
mean, the day of recording for people watching. So it came out yesterday. So I thought this was pretty funny, especially because you were coming today to kind of explain how to help your brand reputation. But yeah, this study showing that AI overviews are 44% more likely to be negative about brands than ChatGPT.
That feels right. Like, sometimes I'll be talking to ChatGPT and I tell it, "Don't be so nice to me." Like, I feel like it sometimes
Yeah.
sugarcoats things too much, so that's pretty funny.
So if anything, it just reinforces what you're saying. If left to its own devices, it is more likely to be negative, right?
Oh, yeah, and I mean, the more that I think AIOs pull I mean, I see Reddit used as a source, daily when it kind of that you click into that bubble of, like, where it's pulling information, and I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know how much time you spend on Reddit, but they are
I spend a lot of time on Reddit. It's a sick amount of time that I've spent on Reddit.
It is, and we are generally a joyless bunch, in the best way possible. There's, just a little bit of edge on Reddit. It is not all roses at all.
That's true. That's true. I feel
Yeah.
like I had to spend a long time curating my feed to make it, not as bleak
Oh my gosh,
as
teach me your
Reddit.
ways. Maybe we need to host a whole other search party just on
It's a
curating.
lot of it's a lot of cat subreddits. You know, there's like a ridiculous number of cat subreddits out there that, I just keep adding because 'cause I'm like, "You know what? This is just feel good content, and right now, that's what we need."
That is what we need. I need more, dog content in my life. I'll get on that right after this, I think.
Alright, awesome, Abby. Thank you so much for joining. If people wanna learn more about what you're up to, like, be the first to see these experiments and the results and just follow your thought leadership, where can they find you?
I am on LinkedIn. That is the main thing. So, yeah, just follow me, Abby Gleason, on LinkedIn. I really like to post case studies and just hear from other people about what they're learning too. So, I share things like this pretty frequently on there. So, yeah, please connect, reach out. Let's chat and connect. I love to meet with fellow marketers, especially as a work from home girly. I'm like, let's talk, let's socialize.
Same.
Gotta
Same.
water cooler chat. You get it.
Yeah, why do you think I have a podcast?
It's just a good excuse to socialize.
Yeah, I get to talk to people, it's great.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Abby, and thank you all so much for listening. If you want an invite to the after party, sign up for our newsletter. That's where we drop exclusive behind-the-scenes tidbits and where guests answer our spicy question of the month. This month's question is, what's the most overrated best practice in marketing right now? Until next time, keep learning, keep testing, and keep showing up.